Alex, do you want to just tell us a little bit about Qured?
Yeah. So Qured is an on-demand business that's been going for coming up 3 years now. And we're really about trying to solve the access issue in primary care. So a lot of people wait a long time to see their GP. And that leads to, slow referrals. That leads to things not being caught and treated when they should be, which has a big kind of knock-on effect for both individuals, but also wider society. And I had kids around just before I launched the company, and not having seen the GP much over the years prior to that, suddenly you're seeing them all the time, and you realise that those headlines about long waiting times and short appointments, that they were all true, and it didn't really. It felt like something that didn't really work in the same way as most other things do in our lives these days. And looking at the alternatives, they were either really expensive or didn't really suit our needs, particularly with small children. And so kind of set to thinking how we could solve that problem. And video solutions are great. They're very useful. I use them, but they can't do much. They're quite limited in the range of conditions that they can treat. So we thought, what would it look like if you could get a really, really great doctor around somebody's house at the time they needed it? So we deliver doctors and later physios to your door within 2 hours, which it's not a pizza. That's that's normally a pretty reasonable time frame for people to see to get seen and treated. And actually, that interaction of having someone come in the home and take care of your problem, a great doctor, it's really powerful, and it's helped us build out a brand that people seem to like.
So it's you could say it's quite similar to almost like an Uber, but for healthcare. Is it the same sort of process? I mean,
yeah. If you want to tell an investor or someone on the street what you do in 2 seconds, Uber for doctors pretty much nails it. The doctors don't love it. They've struggled through 8 years of med school, and their social lives have been pretty subpar for most of that. So they don't love the comparison, but actually a lot of them use it now, and it is a good shorthand. Yeah,
that's cool. That's good. And like you said, it's making that healthcare accessible to more, and yeah, I think it's an amazing product. Obviously, we support in marketing that product and getting obviously more people to jump on board. And no, it's a super exciting product. And I imagine the current times, sort of COVID-19 has how's that currently changed? Sort of what's going on for you guys right now?
So it's a funny one for us because there's probably never been such a heightened awareness of healthcare and health issues as there are at the moment. But the specificities of what is a pretty alarming disease have made the environment quite difficult for us to operate in. So, as I say, we're a visiting service, and what is paramount to us is the safety of our doctors and our patients. So when the virus started kicking off in China, we were following the Public Health England guidance very, very closely. And first, you couldn't see anyone who'd been to Wuhan in the last 2 weeks. Then it was China. Then it was Singapore. Then Iran, Italy. Suddenly, it started getting very close, and we were having to. We were seeing volumes spike and requests go through the roof as people became more concerned about their healthcare and probably weren't that keen on showing up to the GP surgery and sitting in a waiting room with a bunch of people coughing and spluttering. And it then became symptom based. So if you had a cough or the symptoms, which at this time of year 60 or 70% of our patients do anyway, upper respiratory tract infections, you couldn't see them. And then obviously our doctors started getting a bit concerned. So we sat down and we had a good think about it. And we decided that clearly this pandemic was getting out of hand and was going global. We'd seen previous pandemics like SARS and MERS and similar respiratory stuff happening in Asia and then getting to the Middle East, but somehow, it stopped short before spreading globally. But this one clearly was a different kettle of fish. So we took the decision quite early to shut down or suspend our core visiting service, because can you imagine if a doctor went and saw a sick patient or was sick themselves and went and saw 10 patients afterwards? I mean, complete nightmare. And we need our patients to be able to trust that, it's safe to have someone come in their home. So we'd always had a remote care product, a kind of phone consultation product, and where we can do remote prescriptions and you can actually treat a lot over the phone, and patients really like it. In fact, when a patient's given the choice between a phone consult and a video consult, 9 out of 10 times they'll choose a phone consult. Doctors like the video consult because you can pick up a lot of cues face to face and see, have a better sense of someone's general health. But patients don't love it. So we took the decision quite early to pivot, and this is a real pivot, to pivot the company to fully remote in terms of the care that we're offering our patients, obviously fully remote as a company, but also very early on to offer COVID-19 testing to our customers. And we thought about this really carefully. We are a doctor on-demand service, generally providing reassurance to patients. So how do we wrap this in a package that is congruent with what we do and what our values are as a company? We're not some fly-by-night guys who are suddenly, flogging COVID tests. We're a doctor on-demand company supporting our patients at the time of need. So we wrapped it in a pre-test GP consultation, an end-to-end courier, critically, which meant that patients, if they're self-isolating or sick, they don't have to go out into the community. They can maintain that self-isolation. So an end-to-end no-touch courier to our lab partner, and then a post-consultation to talk through patients through what happens if their symptoms get worse, how to access care, when should they go to, call 111 and go to hospital. Because the government had told people, unless you're really sick, don't call us. If you've got COVID, don't call us. We don't want to see you. And I can understand why the government did that. They were managing demand. But actually, that puts our customers in a tough position because they've got legitimate concerns about their health. And this disease is vicious. People are feeling really, really sick. So they didn't have many options to turn to. And that's where we could really fill that gap.
No, it's amazing that, like you said, a lot of businesses have had to pivot and adjust. I think that the area of industry that you guys are in puts you at the front and centre, doesn't it, of everything that's going on, and being able to kind of reassure people, talk to people, know that there's those services out there has been amazing. And we had an interesting conversation yesterday actually with a company called Tutor Block. And it's about finding, basically matching people that are looking for tutors and tutors that are looking for students. And I think to the point you made earlier, Alex, around for a long, long time, never has health been such in the forefront. I'd say very similar to education. And one thing that we sort of asked those guys was, how do you think the current situation will change sort of behaviours long term? So if we fast forward a year, do you think that fear of, not necessarily fear, but the consciousness of going to a GP surgery where there's germs, everyone's always thought of it, haven't they? When you go to a GP, you're like, oh, there's a lot of sick people potentially around me. Do you think there will be that kind of constant, there will have that shift that people will generally be wanting more on-demand, online, virtual, people coming to their home services?
We hope so, but genuinely, yeah, I believe there is going to be a secular shift to different kinds of healthcare solutions, from the sort of well-trodden path to your GP surgery. We were seeing this already, and from the search volumes and in the work that we do together, we were quite early in the market. This wasn't huge, using a company like ours or one of our competitors is still a marginal behaviour amongst most of the population in the UK. But health is something, it's something, conceptually that it's important. But when you're young and you're well, it's not something you think about. As soon as you have an absence of health, there is nothing more important and there is nothing more pressing in your mind. So I think people will have had a bit of a shock through this, that, you know, the health that we take for granted, actually, it's not quite as, you know, you can't, it's not quite as certain as we all thought. And even with all the technology and living in a wealthy economy with an advanced healthcare system, we're all vulnerable to it. And we found that, you know, we wanted to be there to support our customers here, because our sense was that we were going to meet a lot of new customers with health concerns, and that would obviously be good for our business down the line, and helping us scale and increase awareness of the kind of the services that are out there. So the visiting service that we have, you know, it's an interesting niche. It's high touch, high tech care. We can do a lot. We can do blood tests. We can really take care of you. We can do examinations. We can even do ECGs for people in their own homes, as well as take care of, you know, the usual coughs and colds and flu that people have. We can do a lot. And I think that convenience, but also that safety of having someone come into your house, avoiding going to a doctor's surgery, and also the convenience that it offers, I think that that's actually going to stick with the people who met us through this experience. And I do believe that there is going to be a secular shift to more consumption of at-home services, but also particularly remote care services. So our visiting niche, I think that's going to get bigger, but actually the biggest shift and the biggest trend is going to be into remote care and mass adoption of, you know, Skyping your doctor, telemedicine, and other ways of interacting with healthcare. So we have this niche. It's great. This is going to be good for it, I'm sure, but we can't ignore what's going on in remote care, and it's how we adopt that, and what we make of that, and how we co-opt that into our model, which is, I think, going to be the kind of how we define our success over the next 12 or 18 months.
Yeah. No, that all makes sense. And let's go back sort of pre-corona, like the current situation. And you guys obviously have a big marketing effort to go and acquire new customers. Talk us about that. Talk about how potentially there's people that are on board with this idea already, but there's a lot of people that don't necessarily know this sort of product exists, or are not quite comfortable with it yet. Like, and Marcus, it'd be good for you to jump here as well. Like, what just overarching, what's the approach to kind of marketing Qured?
So, you know, most of our spend over the last year was on PPC through you guys, and the work that we did with on improving conversion on our in our funnel and on our website. But that's the bottom of the funnel activity, and that's only meeting the people, as we know, who are looking for your service or something similar at that point of need. As a startup, the challenge is always, well, how do you cut through, and how do you build a brand, and how do you get that awareness out there in the kind of upper funnel activity? We spent quite a lot of money in our first year on out of home, and that's something that we continue to do tactically. But what's been amazing for us is the organic traffic that we've seen. You know, 5, 6, 8-fold increases over the last few months, as you know, because we were early in the market, particularly around testing, and because we were able to position ourselves as a trusted provider and a credible provider. You know, because we've been around a little while, and you know, we're regulated, and we're relatively well established. We get great customer feedback. That meant that we started to see you know, a lot of organic conversions for the first time, and you know, it's been a double-edged sword for us, because what works normally with you guys, right, and all the great work that you've done on the account in finding us new customers, and finding us higher intent traffic and clicks, and getting those converted. You know, there's been a blanket ban across social, across you know, Google, on COVID terms, and the terms that we've really drilled into around our regular visiting service, and where we've got, a dominant impression share and, some stability around our metrics, that all went out the window. So, we had to start thinking about other ways that we could do it. So we've been looking at direct mail. We've been looking at, the Evening Standard. It's not being handed out at the station. People aren't reading it on the tube, but it's going through people's doors in a bunch of neighborhoods. So we've got an ad running in the Standard today. And, that's going to get into people's homes. And hopefully, that's pushing our antibody tests, which tells you whether you've had an immune response to the virus, which is going to be a key piece of information for people. And so we've had to think a little bit laterally about other channels, go kind of gritty and get in on newsletters and, just to get the word out about what we're doing when our paid channel through you guys has been impacted so heavily.
Mm. Yeah, no, if I was trying to see where to add, I think you summed it up quite well, Alex. I think we've worked really hard for a long time to build up that, like you said, like the account, quality score, impression share, things like that. And also trying to look outside of where people are already aware of what Qured do as being a service. So, for example, a lot of people searching for online doctors, they know that an online doctor is a thing, sort of. So that behaviour will change. Like we was talking about a couple of questions ago, that behaviour will change long term. So I think those kind of queries will become bigger and bigger as people are more used to doing things like this. And then, yeah, obviously with the ban on COVID type keywords and pretty much anything related to it, we have struggled to get that kind of traffic as we would like. And I think, fortunately for you guys being ahead of the curve, like you said, Alex, the organic traffic that you're getting through your strong organic rankings has been really positive for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without that, we'd have been in a bit of trouble. And the two things that really worked at this time was, our own targeting our own email, our own customers via email marketing. It's been really, really effective, and organic traffic. And Liam, who you've got on our account, I think he's doing some good work restructuring the account and, trying to look for terms which relate to what we're doing, but which are not necessarily, 100% COVID related. So home antibody tests, things like that, because people aren't necessarily going to be searching for the full precise term, and on a broad match we might be able to pick up some of the traffic that way. And I've reached out to Google actually as well separately through a mate of mine who works there, just to say, look, we are a really credible outfit providing a really valuable service at the moment, contributing to national testing statistics. I can totally understand why you don't want people flogging dodgy tests that are unvalidated to your, to Google users, but we have a track record with you guys, and we would like to be, we would like to be able to bid on limited COVID terms because it's important at this time, and people are genuinely searching for this stuff. So who knows, whether you're shouting into to the abyss and whether someone's actually listening, but we really think that we could add a lot of value to people if we were able to access some of that traffic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not as kind of easy as it might seem, like in this time thinking, oh, just because we're in the healthcare space, it must be like really easy right now. It's not at all. And it's been, like you talked about, pivoting. We have had to, like working with Liam, as you said, on the account, we have had to like change the strategy a little bit. And I think even down to the sort of the bidding approach that we've taken, like target CPA was something that we've tried to push towards for a long time, and it was working quite successfully, but that's something that's had to change now because it has been so up and down, and kind of every part of this has been changing sort of on a weekly, maybe even a daily basis. Things like automated bidding started to see that that's not the best solution at the moment. So we've had to move more manual bidding, and so we've really had to be on our toes with it. And I think, like, because we are in the centre of it in terms of the industry that we're promoting, it kind of it's been heightened as well.
Yeah. I'm really sorry, guys. I hope you can edit this one out, but I've actually got a courier at the door who I've got to let in. My apologies.
Go.
I'll be back in 1 sec.
We'll leave it in. It's all good. No, it's an interesting it's an interesting part about the channels, right? In terms of having to lean on channels that maybe haven't been considered. Like Alex mentioned direct mail, and I know it's something that we're looking at with them to reach people in their homes. Is that something that you've seen, Reece, across the board? Like, there's a bit more interest in that channel?
Yeah, good question, Luke. There's definitely been a lot more interest, I would say. A lot more people talking and asking questions. Whether or not they're going to do it or not is another thing. But I think there's definitely been discussions with our clients and prospective clients around using direct mail more, because there's so many people within their houses now. And for me, like, the Royal Mail is still running a full service, albeit with all the new regulations in, but now is probably a great time to use it because that person is at home. Like Alex has just seen, like the postman or the courier's there and you're straight to the door. So for me,
there's nothing else to look forward to, you know.
No, yeah. For me, like, as a customer, I haven't received any direct mail. I've received a few things from HMRC. I've seen something from our bank, and that's it. And maybe Domino's Pizza. But like, apart from
the government.
And yeah, the government one. Yeah, that's a good shout, Luke. But yeah, apart from that, I've had nothing. And I'm not condoning that people should just send something for the sake of it. But I do believe it's a channel that, like, used properly and effectively, like, does work. Like, people are at home. People are sitting there. So yeah, I'm not condoning just sending anything, but something like talking about Qured, for instance, now is the time to use it. The downside of prospecting through print, if you're doing the door drop route, there's a lot of planning involved. So the timing, so say we wanted to send something today, we could do that if we had the data. If we were doing something like a door drop, which is just targeting people through their postcodes, we would have to probably take 2 to 3 weeks on a normal situation, let alone through like these current times. So like, for businesses that want to test print, I would suggest, similar to what Alex alluded to earlier, was like, use the customer data that you have now, because if we were doing something, we could get it out today. Whereas like something which was a door drop, it'd take maybe a month.
Yeah, and it's a really dynamic situation. Demand fluctuates. I mean, when we released the swab testing at the start, I mean, the phones melted. We could barely keep up. And then that's tailed off as people have, got a little bit more used to the disease, but also, thank God, the government has finally managed to scale up efforts. So, testing is more widely available through the NHS, which is only right. And then we've launched a new product in antibody testing. This isn't something that's going to be offered by the government to the population for some months, it looks like, but people have questions they want to answer now. So being able to move quickly and respond quickly has been key. And we've had, out of home is something we use quite a lot. We do quite a lot of tube campaigns. We tried some of the, the digital street ads, and there's no one out and about. There's no one around. So it is about, where are your customers? They're at home. How do we get to them? You saw me run off to the letterbox. It makes a hell of a lot of sense to us. So it's something that we're certainly looking at.
Same as what you mentioned about email, Alex. It's like overall open rates of email, like the industry averages of open rates are increasing as well. And I think, like, making a joke about running to the door when something's delivered, like, we're all looking for a little bit of excitement. And I'm opening all my emails now, just looking like, is this anything? So I think people are engaged. And like you said, if you're reaching out to current customers, people are looking for engagement, like, in any way.
Yeah.
And that goes, I think, so go on, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just bombarded, aren't they? I mean, on your commute, imagine how many impressions your poor eyeballs are subjected to on the way in. You open your phone, you're at work, you're bombarded in your inbox. But actually, people taking a bit of a pause now, and life is a bit simpler, and there's a little bit less stimulation than usual. And actually, maybe there's an opportunity to get in front of people at the moment now, and get a bit more cut through and a bit more dwell time and a bit more consideration of your product than maybe you would normally.
And I think that's where, like, we've had a lot of these discussions, and everyone at some point would have considered this as to whether it's the right thing to do is to just stop advertising or to stop marketing. We have a lot of these conversations, and we all have our opinion on it. But just what you said there, Alex, is that all of these different factors, just broadly, people have more time and more attention. Is that actually, I think there's no time like the present to be marketing. Obviously, everyone has different products or services, and some you have to be sensitive about, of course. And there's nothing worse than the brands that are just advertising as if nothing's going on. Like, disagree with that. But there's always a story to tell. There's always an opportunity to build relationships, engage with people, tell your story. If your product is able to be sold, great, carry on selling it, because I think people do want that norm, don't they? And I think people who have time and people, I think brands need to keep pushing through this, if they can.
I think that's a nice way of putting it as well, that life's a bit simpler at the moment. I mean, like, again, we say things like this, and we always say, like, take out the kind of the horrible stuff that's going on in the world at the moment. But if you just sort of focus on our little world at home, like me and Susanna, life is simpler at the moment. And I think that's a nice way to think of how brands could message at the moment, kind of taking more time, explaining their product, kind of having a bit more engagement with a prospective customer, rather than just going like, bam, buy this. Like, I think that's quite a nice way to approach it.
Yeah, it is good. I think there's a lot of lessons around how people talk to not only their existing customers, but just how people talk to consumers in general. I think there's a lot of lessons that people have started to think differently about how they approach certain things, which I think will be for the better in the long run.
Great.
You're right, Marcus. I mean, like in anything in life, there's good and bad in it, right? And I think we can all appreciate what this has given to us, whilst also recognizing, the terrible toll it's taken on people's health, and the people who died who shouldn't have. But it taking stock, and we've never had a situation where everybody is off work at once, or working remotely at home, spending time with their families and their loved ones for an extended period of time. And it gives you a chance to take stock. And when you think about what life was like, when you walk down the street now and, most stuff is shut, you think about the barrage there was before, and, how many people are competing for your attention. And I'm sure we'll go back to it, day one, as soon as, and this will all be a distant memory. But, what can we take away from this time in, as you say, in how you communicate with people? And are people's priorities going to be reset? Is anyone really missing the cheap consumer goods and fast fashion that they haven't bought over the last 6 weeks? I don't think anyone's going to, I wish I'd, gone to Primark more. It's important to continue communicating with your customers, particularly for a company like ours, where our offering is so relevant to what's going on at the moment. But, we're all going to go back to work. No one's giving up. We've all got businesses to run. Everybody wants a job and to continue to be employed. Maybe things will change. Maybe there will be some shift, but we got to plan for what happens next and a return to work, because it is going to happen, right? We will either ultimately achieve herd immunity or a vaccine. The world's best minds are on this and nothing else at the moment, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing else they're looking at. And as we know from even our own small experiences, our own businesses, our own personal lives, when you focus on one thing and nothing else and put your all into it, normally something good happens, right? So I'm sure, our scientists and our public health workers, they're going to find, and our governments are going to find a solution to this. So we're going to get through this. So we need to think about what happens next. I mean, we're working with businesses who are planning already for the end of lockdown, and, who want to be able to create a safe and healthy working environment for their staff to come back. So that you need testing for that. You need to know that your office is safe, and that people coming back have either had it recovered and have the antibodies, or have not got it at all, and those two populations can mix. But if you've got it, or it's suspected to have it, or a recent infection, you need to stay away, and you need to continue to work from home. And that transition is going to take a while, but we will get back to work, and marketing is going to be a key part of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I just hope that some of the positives that you outlined earlier, I hope that some of those continue, because I think you're right. We will go back. Once this is all done, we would have gone back to normal in hindsight quickly. But I just do hope that some of those elements of sort of like appreciating your time, appreciating being around family, work-life balance, I hope some of those things do carry on. But no, we will bounce back, and it will be an interesting time to see how this all just progresses over the coming weeks, months, and we'll go from there really. But it's been it's been really great to geek out. Like Qured are an exciting business, and I think are doing some amazing things right now. So keep up that great work, Alex, and your team. Keep safe and well. Keep the couriers coming round.
Right, as long as you keep the customers coming, we'll we'll do all that.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
But no, it's been really good to chat.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time, guys. It's great to share my random thoughts on this, and enjoy the rest of the lockdown, and keep up the great work on the account and all the support you give us.
Thanks, Alex. Enjoyed that. Thanks a lot for your time.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Keep safe. Take care.